What's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. Hopefully y'all have followed along a little bit by now and you'll know how we do it. For those of you joining for the first time, just taking questions right off of the question prompt I post on my story. Just keep an eye out. I post them regularly. Want your question answered on here? Get them in when you see it. So without further ado, just gonna get rolling through these. First one up, getting uncomfortably lean before beginning a push-up phase. So if you aren't competing, because obviously when you compete, that means you get uncomfortably lean. I do think that getting, pretty damn lean, within striking distance of stage lean does have its purpose, especially if you've been pushing up for a long time and, you don't think your sensitivity is as good as it could be. You got a lot of excess body fat, progress in the gym stalling out. There's a myriad of factors to consider, but, long story short is yes, I do think there's a lot to be said for either getting truly stage lean, competing, and then rebounding out of it, or, getting relatively, close to stage lean and then, pushing out of that and rebounding into your bulk up. So, next one. Can I meet you at the Emerald Cup next weekend? So, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to be guest posing end of the month right outside of Seattle at the Emerald Cup. I did that show for the first time last year. I got to guest pose at it, and I absolutely cannot wait to go back. I truly have never been to an amateur show that is, bigger or ran better than that one. The venue, the stage, the people, everything's incredible. So, yes, I cannot wait to meet you. Can't wait to meet everyone there, and I can't wait to be at that show. So that's the Emerald Cup at the end of the month in Seattle. Next up, when would be the proper time to input deloads, or should you at all? There's a lot of, varying thoughts on how you should, deal with your training volume, how you should deal with, perceived fatigue, this, that, and another. So I'm just going to give you my 2 cents on it and what I do personally. And I've had, pretty good experience for this. And that is, I will get to the point where I am absolutely hating bodybuilding. And I know that sounds funny, but I get to the point where I have been pushing things both in the gym and in the kitchen, like diet-wise. I'm talking about the off-season, because when you're in prep, you're not deloading, okay? You might have like a week where you back off your cardio or, something like that, or remove some working sets, but, it's balls to the walls in prep. So I'm talking about an off-season setting here, and that is, I get to the point where I'm literally hating bodybuilding. And, it might be, one time it might be because my digestion's starting to get really poor and I'm eating so much food that I literally get anxious to think about the fact that I have to eat again right when I get done with the meal. It might be that I have been, running into a wall on some sessions for a while and my body's just starting to feel really beat up. Or it might be a combination of, life and both this, that, and another in the gym. So needless to say, whenever I'm truly feeling that way and, I'm really am, beat up either mentally, physically, or both, I have found that works best for me is taking, 2 or 3, even 4 days tops, but 2 or 3 days off entirely from the gym. I don't use the time to just be like a bump on the log, like don't leave the couch. I do stay active, I do stay on my meals, but I typically try to do things that I wouldn't be doing if I'm really locked into, bodybuilding per se. Like go do something that I enjoy with my wife, or, I'll go shoot, or do something that has nothing to do with bodybuilding and just get like a quick little mental recharge. And then I never let myself get into the hole with recovery to the point where 2 or 3 days won't pretty much have me good and ready to go. So that's what I've arrived at is, if you feel like you need a deload, take it. However you feel like you need to take it. But coming from me, no, it's not realistic to sit there and just hammer it for years on end. There's got to be periodization to it in some way, shape, or form. All right, next one up. Rep range for calves and 2 exercises for them. Calves are just like any other muscle. I believe in training them with, 2 or 3 working sets, maybe 4 in a single session, with the total weekly volume to not exceed like 8 to 10 sets if you're training them twice. I don't believe in a bunch of fancy exercises or weird foot position or anything like that. What I do believe in is taking, your calf through a full range of motion with everything else completely locked in. And then my experience having training with people, if their calves are a weak point and they can't seem to get them to grow, it is either they are not prioritizing them, they're like tacking them on to the end of legs and bullshitting through a couple sets, or they really have not reached the point where they're capable of mentally pushing where they need to in terms of a pain threshold. Calves are a very, very painful muscle to train. There's a big difference between training to pain and training to true failure, though, and it's those true, close to failure and failure reps that make any muscle grow, and your calves are no different. So, like I said, 3 to 4 working sets per session, aiming for, 10 to 12 reps. You can take it a little higher, 12 to 15 if you'd want to. What I'd personally recommend and what I do, though, is, doing a one hard or 2 hard normal straight sets, and then making the third set being like a drop set or even a triple drop set where you're exposing it both to the heavy load and the extended rep ranges. Okay, how can I improve my joints? So I've had my fair share of tissue stuff over the years. I've had my fair share of mobility issues just due to the fact that I am the size that I am. And it's going to come as no surprise what I'm about to say, but the best thing that I have found to improve my joints is to be taking them through the ranges of motion that I am trying to improve them on. I will say this, though, diving off into that statement a little bit, I have noticed a lot better results from really stretching and moving through those ranges loaded, like actively. Instead of just sitting there and, say you have a tight shoulder, just sitting there and letting your shoulder hang above your body, like hanging onto a bar or something. Think about, doing your presses or your warm-up sets, or even like before you train, like really getting that shoulder into extension loaded with some weight. So improving your joints, you just need to move whatever joints in specific you're having issues with. Look up some good movement complexes. There's tons of great free resources out there now that really can show you how to take whatever joint's hurting you through its full ranges of motion, and give you very much so like periodized programs to really advance your mobility with it. So motion is lotion when it comes to the joints. With that, I'm going to cut this one off. Don't want to make them too long, don't want to make them too short either, though. So if you like this Q&A, be sure to like it. If you want your question answered and you can get it answered this week, be sure to keep an eye out on my Instagram stories and get your question in for next week's. See y'all next Friday.